Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to the winter campaign in Arkham Horror, the card game. Last week, the ladies picked up 9 experience, actually 8 experience. I got confused because Ursula had one floating. But we are on to the 4th scenario of the campaign, On Thin Ice. What say we jump in and start off with upgrades? So for Diana's experience, she actually took a new ally in Brother Xavier, Pure of Spirit. 5 cost to play, will on commit. +1 will, and Brother Xavier may be assigned damage and or horror dealt to other investigators at your location. As a reaction, when he's defeated, deal 2 damage to an enemy at your location. Then she took a Ward of Protection level 2, 1 cost to play, wildcard on commit. This now activates when any investigator at any location draws a non-weakness treachery effect. Cancel that card's revelation, then take 1 horror. She also took an upgraded enchanted blade. Will and combat on commit, still a 3 cost to play, uses 4 charges. Fight, getting +2 combat for the attack. As an additional cost to use this ability, you may spend up to 2 charges to empower the blade. But for each charge you spend this way, you get +1 combat and deal +1 damage for the attack. Takes up a hand and an arcane slot. And in case you didn't guess, Brother Xavier also takes up an ally slot. Diana will probably be screaming for a charisma when we get her some decent experience. You can also see we've got 2 keys attached to her. We'll go through those when those become relevant to the scenario. Ursula's upgrades are a little bit more straightforward. She took her occult lexicon up to level 3. Where now we get an additional lore on commit, and when we play a blood right as a reaction, we can either change each 2 on it to a 3, or shuffle it into your deck instead of discarding it. Then we took 2 copies of Pathfinder, which is pretty much the Seeker standard upgrade. As a fast action, during your turn, if you're not exhausted with any enemies, exhaust Pathfinder to move to a connecting location. And we also took a shortcut level 2. Which now attaches to a location, and any investigator can use that to move. So we'll move those back into the deck. We'll give both of them a quick shuffle. There we are. Actually, we could have shuffled the tarot deck as well, because we'll give that a shuffle, and we'll do our tarot reading next before we start setting the scene. And here are our 2 cards to look at. First choice is Temperance 14. Each investigator gets +1 sanity, or on the bad side, each investigator gets -1 sanity. Then our other card is the Moon 18. The first time each investigator's deck would run out of cards, they may shuffle the bottom 10 cards of their discard pile back to their deck. And on the bad side, when the game begins, each investigator discards the top 5 cards of their deck. Shuffle each weakness discarded this way back into its owner's deck. We are both 7s on sanity, so I think Temperance 14 isn't too terribly bad. So we'll flip that over to its bad side. And then as usual, I'm going to pin the tarot reading in chat so I can remember it. So good is the Moon 18. And then that one is right. Okay. First time each investigator's deck runs out. What is that? Shuffle top 10, bottom 10 of discard back in. Bad. Temperance 14. Help if I could spell temperance in chat. Oop. That is not what I wanted to do. -1 sanity. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and pin that. We'll get that out of the way. The tarot deck can go away as well. And we're all set to get into setup here. We'll put that back down over here. And now let's actually start setting up our scenario on Thin Ice. As a recollection, we'll go through the dossier entry for file number 33-K. Subject class, yellow. Real identity, unknown. Last known location, Anchorage, Alaska. Description, subject number 33K, hereinafter Thorn, is a tall, Gaunt person with androgynous features and fair complexion. Prefers practical, loose-fitting clothing. Subject appears to be redacted and conjectured to be far older than they appear. Collaborating source suggests date of birth in redacted. Subject wears a distinct red cravat around their neck, often obscuring their face. Paradimensional capabilities. Subject possesses acute sensitivity to redacted. Coterie leverages these capabilities to locate redacted artifacts and track movement of redacted. Sightings. Numerous sightings across the globe. Profiled as one of the most mobile coterie members. Despite notorious secrecy, Thorn has a reputation for appraising and acquiring redacted. Analysis suggests that they are amenable to business exchange and receptive to haggling. Recent activity suggests coterie is in a state of redacted. Approach procedure. You and Thorn are likely to have similar objectives. Extreme caution suggested. Thorn is likely to negotiate, but only on their terms. Diana, the first round of negotiations should not involve a blade. Intro. You have only just checked into your lodge in Anchorage when you receive an unmarked package. Agents. We have lost contact with several operatives in Central Alaska in recent weeks, likely due to coterie activity. One operative was looking into a possible lead. A lens with apparent paradimensional capabilities. Enclosed is the journal of prospector Rhett Landry, currently institutionalized at Morningside Sanatorium in Oregon. If the lens is a key, acquire it at all costs. Q. Taylor. You spend a full day poring over the prospector's journal, which is mostly comprised of wildlife sketches and notes on mining. However, the final entry is chilling. October the 4th, 1923. Tonight, I buried that accursed lens where I found it. I dared not commit my thoughts to the page after finding it, but I have nothing to lose now. While surveying the new branch in the mine, I found a curious lens buried in the rock. It was opaque and emanated a beguiling light. Holding it made me feel special, as if I had been chosen. Looking through it, I saw incredible plants, creatures, people, structures, in a strange otherworldly landscape. A world beyond our own. A world that should exist. A dark reflection of our own. A haven for lost objects, lost memories. The lens, the sable glass, is the mirror that shows the truth of this other world. How foolish was I to think that I could use the lens for my own gain. The more I looked at the other world, the more the other world looked back. By peering into the glass, I must have called something, some awful, nameless creature, through. More and more of my fellow prospectors went missing in the woods and erased from memory. My companions, my possessions, my home, all were swallowed by the strange creature I glimpsed in the sable glass. And now when I look through it, I can see them there in that other place. The creature that stalks the woods is made of nothing, and yet it is many things, constantly shifting, ever-changing. It has the traits of many animals, like a chimera from old myths. I tried to hunt it using a sable glass, but looking at it made my head spin. After surveying the area, I set a trap and thought I killed one of its forms, a great lupine thing that howled and dissipated into nothingness. But when I returned to camp the next day, it had struck the camp. My companions have vanished from memory and space. The authorities say I should be locked up. My only hope is to set things right, to put the sable glass back where I found it. Perhaps then everything will be right again. Next to the journal entry is an array of dark scratches, which you had assumed were nervous scribbles. However, given Landry's account, you wonder if it isn't his attempt to sketch the creature. The next day, you launch a search for any record of Mr. Landry's gold mine, starting with prospecting permissions in Anchorage City Hall and the local library. After a day of fruitless search, you still cannot find an official permit or record of a mine connected to Rhett Landry. As you return to the lodge that evening, you spot a tall, willowy figure with a distinct red cravat standing next to a packed sledge. Well met, the figure greets you with a self-satisfied smile. You must be the troublemakers everyone is talking about. Pleased to make your acquaintance. I'm Thorn. They extend a confident hand to shake yours. If you're here, I can only assume it is for the same reason as I. Keep a weather eye out. It's supposed to be quite cold near Fairbanks. May the best one win. Thorn winks at you, then mounts the sled. You wonder if Thorn's reference to Fairbanks was a clever misdirection or a friendly hint. After asking around the lodge, an attendant opens up about your rival's preparations. I was confused at first. until it became clear they were asking about something in tribal territory. You don't need a permit to prospect out there. After some more questioning, you have a good sense of Thorn's direction and the location of the mine. Read, only if an investigator has the Wayfarer trait. I would be stunned if Ursula doesn't have that. Diana has Cultist and Silver Twilight. Ursula's got Wayfarer, just like I thought. Okay, so we get to read this. Wherever you're going, you want to follow the river. Gold mines are usually built within 100 yards of a river and are often connected to the river by a channel for fresh water and silt for panning. Before you head out, you ask for directions. From a local member of the tribe that owns the territory where you think the mine could be. They are wary of more meddling from outsiders and also concerned for your safety, given the recent trouble with prospectors on their land. You explain you aren't interested in gold and are researching the strange case of Mr. Landry. For good measure, you show them the prospector's journal and the strange etching inside. This seems to buy you some trust, and the tribe member offers some directions. Be especially careful crossing the rivers this time of year, they tell you. It's easy to lose your way, and even easier to fall through the ice. You'll catch your death out there if you aren't careful. Proceed to setup. Well, setup is likely going to be pretty easy. Here we go. Let's just make sure there's nothing dumb that needed to happen here. Yes, actually, there is something that's going to need to happen. So, our cool graphic. Okay, so we've got all the encounter sets gathered. Put the Anchorage and Fairbanks locations into play. Each of us begins at Anchorage. We'll take a look at that in a second once we finish setting up. 3 Alaskan wilderness locations together, so we don't know which is which. Put each of them into play adjacent to Fairbanks. Set the remaining 3 outer wilderness locations aside out of play. Those should be in here already. They are. Okay. I'm just looking in the box. So we shuffle those. And then put each of them in play adjacent to Fairbanks. Okay, so we've got all that. So we've got that done. Each of the following cards are aside from out of play. We've got the... Alright, so we've got the concealed cards along with the decoys. So emissary from... Let's just look what I've got here. So the decoys, Void Chimera, emissary from Yuggoth, and Coterie Agent. So the Void Chimera gets set aside. And the four special Void Chimera decoys. Okay, so we do need those. Those actually should probably be... yeah, I think we'll be fine with this. Okay, so we'll shuffle the remaining encounter cards to build the deck. Then we check how much time has passed, and for each 5 time that's passed, we added Doom to the agenda. So we are through 5, 10, 15 times. So we're starting off with 3 Doom. And now we're set to begin. So now let's look at our act and agenda. Actually, I'm going to copy this down to player mats. That's the scenario card. So agenda, lost and forgotten. The Prospector's Journal described a horrifying predator. Some call the thing stalking the woods a beast. Some call it a spirit, and others know it as a shapeshifter. Describing the thing seems to fill each witness with a primal, unspeakable terror. 7 Doom to advance, and of course we've got 3 in play already. Act 1A. Quest for the Sable Glass. Thorn may have a head start in their search for the Sable Glass, but you have something they don't. Rhett Landry's Journal. If you can reach the Prospector's gold mine before the Coterie, you may be able to keep the key out of their hands. Objective. Only investigators at the condemned gold mine may spend the requisite number of clues as a group to advance, and we need 6. All right. Let's get our starting hands together. Diana will once again be our lead investigator. We'll give our 2 ladies' decks a quick shuffle, just so we make sure there's no funny business there. And then we'll draw our opening hands. I'm very happy to see a blade in Diana's hand to start the game. 3. Actually, I'm incredibly happy with this hand, aside from seeing that Ward of Radiance. But let's look at Ursula's starting hand. Also looking happy to see that. Okay, Call of the Unknown will go back, and then we'll draw a fresh card. Okay, looking at Diana's hand, I think we're going to put the Ward of Radiance back. Do I want to put the Shriveling back too? I don't think we'll put that back. Then we'll draw another card. Ooh, I am very happy to see that. That's a hand. As for Ursula, I'm going to put back I've Got a Plan. Yeah. All right, that's a hand. Not exactly one I'm happy with, but serviceable. Okay. So now let's look at our starting location. Anchorage. Anchorage bustles with excitement brought on by the gold rush. Almost every street you walk down has a new facade under construction. The sheer number of rugged pioneer folk walking the streets makes you feel out of place in your everyday clothes. This flips into Shroud of 2 clues. As an action, choose a set-aside hollow. Its owner draws it. Limit once per round. As an action, we can resign. I thought Alaska was supposed to be nice this time of year. Excuse me. And with that, I think we are all set to begin. I don't really want to waste either a Drawn to the Flame or a deduction here, but I think Ursula will lead us off. She's going to start off with a Magnifying Glass as a fast action, which will give her a +1 lore while investigating. A lens into a world unseen can reveal things you wish it hadn't. Ursula for action 1 will then investigate. She's at a 5 to a 2. She's up 3. We'll give the bag a quick shuffle. All right. Up 3. And we get Tentacle Touched. Action 2, run it back. -2 is more like it, so that'll give her a clue. Then action 3, Ursula's going to move over to Fairbanks. Fairbanks is the perfect place to replenish your supplies and research routes to the gold mine. And then that'll flip into Shroud of 2, no clues. When an investigator at Fairbanks as a reaction draws a hazard treachery, spend 2 resources to cancel that treachery's effect and discard it. All around me I sensed a queer coldness in the demeanor of my neighbors, my friends. Virgil Gray in the Court of the Outsiders. Ursula could technically take a move and investigate action here, but there's nothing happening. There's nothing there for her, so that will end her turn. Diana is at a lore of 3 to 2. Diana will investigate for action 1. She's up 1. Cultist is -4. If you fail, choose a non-weakness card in your hand and set it aside out of play as a hollow. Gross. Diana's going to put Shriveling out of play. And we have to be here to draw it, which is unfortunate. Action 2. Diana's going to pay 3 resources to play out her Enchanted Blade. As a fight, we get +2 combat for the attack. As an additional cost, you can spend up to 2 charges to empower the blade. For each charge you spend this way, +1 combat and deal +1 damage for the attack. So that'll go there. And then action 3, Diana will investigate again. She's up 1. I'm going to shuffle that bag. That's the second time in a row. All right, up 1. Rune is -2, -5 instead if the Void Chimera is at your location. He's not, but that's still enough to fail us. That'll do it for Diana. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, we've got no enemies in play right now, so we'll do upkeep. And Diana will find a Hallowed Mirror. 2 cost to play, Loron Commit. It's similar to the Occult Lexicon, except it gives us the Soothing Melodies instead of Blood Rites. And then Ursula will draw Strange Solution, Unidentified. As an action, test lore 4. If you succeed, discard Strange Solution and draw 2 cards, recording your campaign log that you identified the solution. Mythos phase, 4 Doom on the agenda. Remember, we started with 3 because as part of setup we had to put 1 Doom up for every time that's passed. Diana will draw Matter Inversion. Attach to an outsider enemy without a copy of Matter Inversion. If you cannot, Matter Inversion gains Surge. Since there's no enemies in play, we can't attach this, so this gains Surge. Which means Diana will now draw a Coterie Agent. Concealed 2. After it enters play, after the shadows, place 1 Doom on it. When Coterie Agent is exposed, discard it. A flash of red and a fleeting shadow. So he will go to the shadows. We'll get the Coterie Agent C. We'll just use... Okay, here we go. 2 decoys. So now we have 5 Doom in play because of the... Now we have 5 Doom in play because of the Coterie Agent. And we'll put it up there. And then Ursula will draw Crypt Chill. As an action, test Lore 4. If you fail, choose and discard an asset you control. If you can't, take 2 damage instead. The supernatural cold threatens to freeze your soul. Okay, let's go with a Eureka to commit to get Ursula up to even. And a 0 gets us all clear. So that's discarded. And Ursula gets to look at the top 3 cards of her deck for a card. Pathfinder, Hawkeye Folding Camera, and Level 0 Shortcut. Let's take the Pathfinder, which will probably be playing that first. But I'm getting ahead of myself on that. All right. And Ursula, that'll bring us into the... back to the investigation phase, and Ursula will be our first player. So speaking of that Pathfinder, she will spend 3 resources and her first action to play it. As a fast action during your turn, if you're not engaged with any enemies, exhaust Pathfinder to move to a connecting location. Searchers after horror haunt strange, far places. H.P. Lovecraft, The Picture in the House. And then Ursula will immediately exhaust Pathfinder since she's not engaged to move up to this Alaskan wilderness. The unrevealed side will all be the same. The bleak splendors of these remote and lonely forests rather overwhelmed him with the sense of his own littleness. Algernon Blackwood, the Wendigo. This will flip into Frozen Lake. Shroud of 3, 4 clues. Forced. After an investigator at this location reveals a skull, cultist, rune, or elder thing symbol during a skill test they're performing, they must either choose and discard a card from their hand or take 1 horror. And then since Ursula moved into a location, she is going to take her free action. She will commit deduction level 2. So if she's successful while investigating, discover 1 additional clue at the location. 2 there instead if we succeed by 2 or more. So Ursula's at a 5, 7. She's up 4, trying to discover 3 clues. That's occultist, which is -4. Are you kidding me? That is the 3rd time I've pulled this. That's the 2nd time I've pulled this cultist today. So unfortunately, Ursula fails, and we will set Strange Solution aside as a hollow. And since we revealed a cultist, we either have to discard a card from her hand or take 1 horror. Actually, 5, 6, 7. Oh, wait. No, actually, hold on. I can't do math today. To 3. Cultist is a -4. So we actually succeeded at that test. So Cultist was a -4. We were at a 5, 6, 7 after we committed deduction. So we were up 4, which means Ursula does succeed at the test. But we do still have to discard a card. That will be Strange Solution that gets discarded, which is very annoying. I'm going to shuffle that bag. How many cultists are in there at this point? Yeah, 2 cultists, I guess. Alright. And then action 2. Ursula will run the investigate back. She's up 2. That's a -2, which will get her another clue. And then action 3. One more time. Ursula's still up 2. Elder Sign is +1. After this test ends, you may move to a connecting location. So she'll get the clue, and she will gladly move back to... She'll gladly move it back to Fairbanks. And now... Actually, no, never mind. We already took her investigate action for the round after moving. So that's it for Ursula. Diana... get +2 combat for the attack. As an additional cost... Actually, Diana for action 1 is going to attack the location. She's looking at this concealed card. She's using the enchanted blade. She's at a 3 + 2 is 5 to 2. Diana's up 3, attacking the location. That's a -1, so Diana will succeed. She'll flip over the concealed card and find a decoy. Which means the coterie agent is still out there. Action 2... She's going to run back the investigation from earlier. She's up 1. Which is a +1, so Diana will get the last clue off the location. Which gives us a total of 6 clues. So now we just need to find the mine. Action 3, Diana will move over to Fairbanks and join Ursula. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, the coterie agent is the only enemy, but he's in the shadows right now. So now... we move into upkeep phase. And Diana draws Terrible Secret. Revelation, if there are no cards beneath Diana, shuffle it back into your deck, and there are no cards beneath her right now. Otherwise, for each card beneath Diana, you either discard that card or take a horror, but we can't cancel it. So that'll go back into her deck. Ursula will draw her Occult Lexicon. Ooh, we could use this. We're probably going to play that next turn. Mythos phase, Doom on the agenda goes up to 5, but we're at 6 because of the coterie agent. Diana will draw Figures in the Dark. Uh-oh. If there are no enemies in the location, Figures in the Dark gains Surge. Otherwise, we either have to have an enemy attack us, each enemy in the shadow attack, or each investigator loses an action. Diana's going to have the coterie agent attack her for 1 damage. Then Ursula will draw Beyond the Pale. Revelation, attach Beyond the Pale to your location and test Will 3. If you fail, take 1 horror for each treachery attached to your location. After this test ends, if there are exactly 3 copies of Beyond the Pale in play, discard them. Ursula would be even testing that. If you fail, take 1 horror... So attach it to your location and test Will 3. If you fail, take a horror for each hex treachery attached to it. I'm deciding if there are 3 copies of Beyond the Pale in play. You know what? I think Diana's actually going to spend... That works when investigator at your location, and they are at the same location now. So Diana is going to play Dark Insight to cancel Beyond the Pale, which will shuffle that back into the encounter deck. And then Diana will gain a resource and draw a card. She'll find Spectral Razor level 2. Fight, adding your will value to your skill value for this attack. Immediately before the attack, you may engage the attacked enemy. This attack deals +1 damage, +2 instead if the enemy is non-elite. But if we reveal a symbol during the attack, return Spectral Razor to your hand at the end of your turn. Morning, Troy. We're taking a small break from baseball this morning to continue the winter campaign, but believe me, we will have more baseball action a little bit later. We've got a little bit more dangerous business in the Cthulhu mythos, and I've got my throat drying up on me, so hang on while I take a quick drink of my Crystal Light. We'll also have Mystical Munchies a little bit later this afternoon. As right now the cheesecake is cooling in the fridge from a flurry last night. So let's see what we want to get up to here. That's a Shroud of 2. So I think Ursula is going to start us off by paying 2 resources to play her Occult Lexicon out. So that'll get me both. Might get me my copies of Bloodright. One goes into Ursula's hand. The other two are going to get shuffled in. So taking a quick look at Bloodright. Draw 2 cards. Discard up to 2 cards from your hand. For each card you discard this way, we either gain a resource or spend a resource to deal 1 damage to an enemy at our location, but this attack doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity. But with the upgraded Occult Lexicon, we can either change that 2 to a 3 or shuffle it back in. So we've got options there. Action 2, Ursula is going... So that was Action 1. Action 2, Ursula is going to investigate the location because we want to go after the concealed card. She's at a 5 to a 2 on the Shroud. Ursula's up 3. That's a -2, so we get to look at the decoy card, the concealed card. And it's the other decoy, which means the coterie agent... Let's see, that's only investigators there. Which means the coterie agent's up here. Unfortunately, we are going... Do we care that we're going to advance? I don't think we do. So I'll exhaust Pathfinder to move Ursula down. Which one do I want to move her to? We're using a fast action to do this, remember? Because we're using Pathfinder. I'm going to move her over to... We're going to move her down to this location, and we'll flip it over to find. Mountain Stream. Shroud of 1, 2 clues. Forced. After you enter Mountain Stream, test Lore or Agility 1. If you fail, take 1 damage. Forced. After the last clue is discovered from Mountain Stream, put the 3 set-aside outer wilderness locations into play adjacent to it. Crossing the cracked ice is incredibly dangerous, but you have little choice. So first up, we are going to test Lore. Actually, either one would be a 4. So this is even before we get to the Ursula's free investigate. So she will take a, well, again, either way, a Lore test. Ursula's up 3. That's Occultist, which is a -4. If you fail, choose a non-weakness card in your hand and set it aside out of play as a hollow. She's going to put the Dream Diary aside. She will fail and take a damage. Then she's going to take her free investigate to try to discover some of these clues. Ursula's up 4. And that's a 0, so Ursula will get one of the clues. As action 3, Ursula will run that back, try to get the last clue. She's still up 4. That's a -1, so Ursula will get the last clue, which will also give us access to the outer wilderness locations. So we'll wait for those to load up. And then we will put them into play adjacent. So we'll move the lead investigator icon for Diana. And we'll do that. Unfortunately, that was Ursula's last action. So, where do I want to move Diana to? I'm hoping we don't have terrible luck and our last location is down here. Right. So if they're telling me something's here... Yeah, you know what? Let's... Just to confirm my suspicion... Actually, I think we're going to ignore that. So action 1, Diana's going to move down to the mountain stream with Ursula. Action 2, she's going to move over to this outer wilderness location. In the draughts of night that poured their silent tide from the depths of the forest, with messages from distant ridges and from lakes just beginning to freeze, there lay already the faint, bleak odors of coming winter. Algernon Blackwood, the Wendigo. This flips into Forgotten Outpost. Shroud of 4, 2 clues. Action, draw 3 cards, limit once per game. While hardly large enough to qualify as a town, this small settlement feels like a bastion of comfort after days on end of trying wilderness. Okay, there's probably other locations that are going to come into play from the looks of it. Actually, let me make sure there isn't a square in play, so there isn't some kind of... Oh, square is Mountain Stream. Never mind. Let's see, how about Moon? Probably either among these two. Actually, are these the last locations coming out? They are. Okay, so that was action 2 to move. I think action 3, Diana is going to use Drawn to the Flame, because I don't feel like bringing Ursula down here to investigate to try to get those 2 clues on a Shroud of 4. This is probably a good use of Drawn to the Flame. And we'll find Matter Inversion. Revelation attached to an outsider enemy without a copy of Matter Inversion attached. The Coterie agent is not an outsider enemy, so that gains Surge again. And Obscuring Fog. Revelation attached to your location, limit 1 per location. Attached location gets +2 Shroud. Forced. After attached location is successfully investigated, discard Obscuring Fog. As of now, I don't care about that because that gives me the 2 clues off of the location. That may turn into a problem if we end up getting more concealed enemies, but we'll find that out soon enough. That will do it for Diana. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, the Coterie agent is our only enemy in play. So now we'll do Upkeep. And Diana will find a Hand of Fate. Fast, play when an enemy attacks an investigator at your location. Cancel the attack, then add Bless tokens to the Chaos Bag equal to the attacking enemy's total combined damage and horror values. And Ursula will draw Back Injury. Uh-oh. As a revelation, we either have to put Back Injury into play in your threat area or take 1 damage and shuffle it into your deck. It can't leave play except by the double action ability below. You get -1 health and 2 actions to discard it. Morning, Jester. You're just in time for me to see how I'm going to deal with Ursula's basic weakness. And I think it's going to be by taking a damage and shuffling this thing back into her deck. You're also in time, incidentally enough, for me to advance the agenda, because we're putting our 6th Doom up, but we actually have 7 in play because of the Coterie agent, and we needed 7 to advance. So we are advancing. We'll reset that, and then this will flip over into Frozen Thoughts. The frigid landscape fills you with a kind of numbness. At first, you dismiss the feeling as purely physical, a side effect of the cold. It is only when you stop and consider the feeling itself that it dawns on you. The numbness is the result of some sort of strange influence. You are forgetting small moments, memories of the surrounding area. It is as though your mind itself is being hunted and fed upon. Each investigator chooses an ally or item asset in their hand or play area and sets it aside out of play as a hollow. How bad is that going to screw Diana up? Actually, not at all. Not really. Because Diana is going to get rid of the Hallowed Mirror. I'd rather not lose her only means of defending herself. Ursula will lose the Magnifying Glass, which is a little bit less catastrophic, but not horrible. Eyes of the Void, Agenda 2A. As you explore the region, you can't shake the feeling that you're being watched. It is as though 1,000 eyes are staring directly at you, or perhaps through you. The surrounding forest is filled with a deafening silence. Diana will draw Ravenous Grizzly. Hunter retaliates, spawn at the nearest wilderness location. Ravenous Grizzly can't enter non-wilderness locations. While Ravenous Grizzly is moving, it skips over connecting non-wilderness locations 2 damage. And of course, Diana is at a wilderness, so look at that. Diana's got a friend all of a sudden. Ursula will draw Tenebrous Eclipse. Put it into play next to the agenda deck. No more than 1 concealed mini-card can be exposed by each investigator each round. Forced. At the end of the round, discard 1 copy of Tenebrous Eclipse from play. Max once per round. Alright, so that goes next to the agenda deck. We still need to find the gold mine, but all of a sudden, Diana needs to do something about this grizzly. And Diana, this is not what we were talking about last night. You may use the blade to deal with the grizzly as you need to. So, on that note, let's see. Here's what we're going to do, actually. I've got a little bit of a plan here. Diana will go first. Action 1, she's going to initiate a move action, which will trigger an attack of opportunity from the Ravenous Grizzly. It would do 2 damage, but instead, Diana's going to pay 3 resources to play Hand of Fate. Cancel the attack, then add bless tokens to the bag equal to the attacking enemy's combined total damage and horror values, which will put 2 in the bag. And then Diana gains a resource and draws a card from her special ability, which is a Storm of Spirits. Now the move happens. Now Diana moves up to the mountain stream, which is still a wilderness location, so the grizzly can follow her. Then Diana, for action 2, is going to attack with the enchanted blade. She gets +2 will. Diana is going to commit a vicious blow as well, mostly so I can go up 3 on the attack. Is there anything Ursula is going to chip in? No. So Diana up. As an additional cost, you may spend up to 2 charges to empower the blade. We're not going to do that yet. Yeah, let's go with that. Diana is up, let's see, 3, 5, 7 to 4. Diana's up 3. Yep, 3. -2. The grizzly is very much deceased. So grizzly goes toodaloo. And then action 3, Diana is going to move down to this outer wilderness location, and we'll flip it over, into the Hunter's Lodge. Shroud of 4, 2 clues. Forced. When you reveal Hunter's Lodge, test Will or Lore 3 to talk the Hunter down. If you fail, take 1 damage. Forced. When a monster enemy enters this location, deal 1 damage to it. And here you thought the outsiders were the dangerous ones. Alright, so Diana is testing at even either way, unless I use the Eye of Ravens, which I think I will. During a skill test at her location, I'm going to set the base skill value for this to 6. So that'll flip to its unstable side. So Diana is up 3 because I'm using the Eye of Ravens. Bless is up 5. Well, So the way Bless and Curses work in this game is a little bit unique. As you saw, we added tokens to the bag. So Diana pulls a Bless token, so now she's up 5, but she's got to draw again. That's a 0, so we're all clear there. The Bless comes out of the bag, though. Oh, wait. Probably... Oh. Let's try right-clicking. There we go. Okay. So now we managed to talk the Hunter down. Let's see, so action 1 was to move, action 2 was to shove the enchanted blade up the grizzlies where it doesn't belong. And then action 3 was to move. Okay, so Diana's done for the round. Ursula is going to move over to this outer wilderness location and find that this is where we need to go. Shroud of 6, no clues. As an action, we can reveal 1 random cast token from the bag, plus 1 additional per depletion token on Condemned Gold Mine. If you don't reveal any bad symbols, gain 4 resources and place 1 from the token pool on Condemned Gold Mine as a depletion token. So that was action 1. Ursula is going to spend... Only investigators there can spend the clues to advance. So Ursula... Right, yes. Only investigators there may spend the requisite number of clues. So Ursula will spend 6 clues. 5, 6. And she will advance the act. All right, if it is Agenda 1, it is Agenda 2 right now. As you approach the condemned mine, you see from the broken barricades and tracks in the snow that Thorn and the coterie have already arrived. Before you can backtrack, 2 guards emerge from the shadows brandishing shotguns. Don't move, one of them says. In either case, read Scenario Interlude, Raw Deal in the campaign guide. Check the current agenda. If it's Agenda 2, so we go to Raw Deal 2. Raw Deal 2. Oh, goodness gracious, Thorn says, emerging from the mine. Put that down at once, you oaf. This is no way to treat guests. They snap at the guards, who lowers their weapons. You're too late, I'm afraid. Or rather, just in time, I suppose, depending on your perspective. Thorn brandishes an obsidian lens in one hand as they smirk. Remembering the Foundation dossier, you ask Thorn if there is anything you can do to negotiate for the key. They shake their head. I'm afraid not, kitten. A key in hand is worth, well, fortunes. Not that I would sell it for anything in the world. They clutch the sable glass in one hand as a chill wind blows. However, there's still time to make a deal. If you weren't completely daft, you'd have noticed this entire area is in grave danger. Something truly terrible stalks these woods. The ultimate predator. In fact, it already knows we're here. Thorn looks to you. The way I see it, you can pout about not getting your prize, or you can help me track my quarry. Do that and I'll owe you a favor, to be paid at a later date. Do we have a deal? The investigators must decide. We'll work with you for now. Proceed to the raw deal 3. We can't let the key fall into coterie hands. Skip to raw deal 5. So clearly, well, we definitely know something's up here. I think right now we have a more pressing problem than the key now in presumably in coterie hands. I think for now we team up against a common enemy. We can come back to this and deal with getting the key later. So let's work with him for the time being. So raw deal 3. Brilliant! We shall have to pop some champagne when this is all over and done. Thorn snaps their fingers, calling their cohorts to attention. I believe we have some work to do. In your campaign log, record the cell made a deal with Thorn. Remove an Elder Thing token from the bag and add a rune. So -1 Elder Thing. And now we should have, let's see how many runes we have in the bag. We're taking an Elder, not an Elder Sign. I want the, oh, there is no Elder Thing in the bag. So now we're putting our 4th rune in the bag, which could be problematic. All right. So we've got another rune going in the bag. And now we have 4 runes in play. Put the Thorn story asset into play under the lead investigator's control and attach the sable glass key to Thorn face up. So Thorn with the Thorn, let's see. So Thorn story asset in play under the lead investigator's control and attach the sable glass key to Thorn. So there's the ally and the sable glass is attached to Thorn. Yep. Not in. Get out of the area where I keep the cards. So that'll go under Diana's control with the sable glass attached to it. So Thorn, consummate professional. After an investigator at your location sets a card aside as a hollow, exhaust Thorn, that investigator may take an immediate action as if it were their turn. Just admit it, I'm better at this than you. Oh, zip it, Thorn. And the sable glass is shift, look at the revealed side of each concealed mini card at your location without exposing them. Flip this key to its unstable side. File number 33-K31. Subject class green. Subject is a warped lens of an indeterminate translucent material. Layer appears as window to other layers when viewed through lens. All right, and looking at our new agenda, or our new act, Act 2A. Actually, hold on. We also have to search the encounter deck, discard pile, and all play areas for all cards from the Crimson Conspiracy encounter set and remove them from the game. So which one is the Crimson Conspiracy? If we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it's that phone symbol that we're looking for. So everything from that set. Let me get these cards out, Jester. I do see your question, but I'll come back to that. I want to finish getting this next little section set up, and then I will come back to that question. Let's see. I don't think it'll let me search by Crimson Conspiracy. Of course it won't, because that would make my life too easy, and we can't have that now, can we? Let's see, Conspiracy in red. Okay, there should be a total of 5 cards from that set. 3, and probably the 2 coterie agents. There we go. Okay. So those can get out of my way. And then since we shuffled the encounter deck, is there anything else there? I don't think so. Nope. Okay. So let's give the encounter deck a shuffle since I reshuffled it. And now we're on to Act 2A. If it bleeds. Thorn said they were trying to track the predator in these woods. Although the beast leaves no trace, you can surely scout the surrounding area before luring it out. Action: if your location has the wilderness trait and investigators at your location spend 1 per investigator clues as a group, place 1 resource on your location as a scouting report. Limit 1 scouting report per wilderness location. Objective: you may advance at the end of any round. Hint: you will lure out the predator when you advance. Advance when you believe you are prepared. Alright, so Jester, this campaign that we're going through for this year's winter campaign is one of the most recent campaigns in Arkham Horror, the card game. This is the Scarlet Keys campaign, and the mission we're playing is called On Thin Ice. We'll talk about this a little bit more during Peeing with Phoenix, but the main focus is actually on this map and traveling the world searching for keys. So we'll have a little bit more to say about that. Coming back to business, though, Ursula has got 2 more actions to go through. So Action 2... Ursula is going to move back up to the mountain stream. And then for Action 3, she does have 2 clues. So for Action... Actually, does she have 2? No, she doesn't have 2 clues. She's only got 1. Diana's still got 3. So actually, that's only when it reveals. Not when she enters. So Ursula is going to use Pathfinder to move down into the Hunter's Lodge with Diana. And then Ursula is going to take her free investigate action, committing Inquiring Mind to go up 3 on an investigation to try to get a clue. Skull is -X, where -X is the number of hazard treacheries in play. Obscuring Fog is a hazard, but it's only a -1, so Ursula will get the clue off of that location. Now she could spend a clue. So actually, now we don't need that. Now we don't need that concealed card. I was trying to think of what it was called for a second there. Now for Action 3, Ursula could put a scouting report down about the lodge. Actually, now we both could. Yeah, actually, let's do that. Each of our ladies will spend a clue to put down a that goes on the location. So that'll be a scouting report on the Hunter's Lodge. That'll do it for that'll do it for Ursula. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, no enemies in play. The only one that was in play was the the only one in play was the Coterie agent, and that got removed. So now we do upkeep. And now Diana draws Terrible Secret once again. So this time we have cards beneath Diana, which means for each card beneath her, we either discard it or take a horror, and we can't cancel it. Not that we have a cancel card to use. Diana's going to take 2 horror. And then Ursula, that was her last action. Ursula will draw Hawkeye Folding Camera. 2 cost to play, will on commit. After the last clue is discovered from your location, place a resource from the token pool on this card as evidence. Limit once per game at each location. While Hawkeye Folding Camera has 1 or more evidence plus 1 will, 2 or more plus 1 lore, 3 or more evidence plus 1 sanity. Before we go into the Mythos phase, the one thing I will say about this game, Jester, or about this campaign, is it's been described as Eldritch Horror, the card game, and given the world traveling experience, I can't say that whoever's described it as that has been wrong. This Tenebrous Eclipse gets discarded. Mythos phase puts our first Doom on the agenda. Diana will draw Cracking Ice. Put it into play next to the agenda deck. Then, if there are 3 or more copies of Cracking Ice next to the agenda deck, discard them all, and each investigator at a wilderness location tests Agility 4. Each investigator who fails must either take 1 damage, 1 horror, or lose an action for each point they fail by. So that goes next to the agenda deck. And then Ursula will draw Beyond the Pale. Attach it to your location and test Will 3. We saw this earlier, so this time we have to attach it to the location. And then test Will 3. Ursula is even. That's a 0, so we managed to pass that. Which means it stays there. But if we fail, take a horror for each hex treachery attached to your location, which there was only one there. So after the test ends, if there are 3 copies of Beyond the Pale in play, discard them. I'll give the bag a quick shuffle, and then we'll be all set for the investigation phase again. Let's see. Ursula will go first. She's going to spend 2 to put her Hawkeye folding camera into play. Action 2, she's going to investigate. Unfortunately, she's even, and Diana can't give her a lot of help. So even. +1 gets Ursula the clue and a resource on Hawkeye folding camera. So now she's got +1 will, which is very cool. Then she'll exhaust Pathfinder to move up, not Beyond the Pale, move up to the wilderness, the mountain stream, I should say. And then action 3, now that she's got 2 clues, she's going to spend them to make another report. So now we've got a report at the mountain stream. And that's it for Ursula. She could have taken a free investigate, but there's no need for that here. Diana is going to move for action 1. She's going to move up to the mountain stream. Action 2, she'll come down to Forgotten Outpost. And action 3, she'll spend 2 of her clues to make a report there, make a scouting report there as well. That'll do it for Diana. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase. No enemies in play right now, so now we do upkeep. Diana will find a machete. 3 cost to play, combat on commit. Fight, +1 combat for the attack. If the attacked enemy is the only enemy engaged with you, the attack deals +1 damage. We'll go through flavor text when we play it. Ursula will draw. Dr. Milan Christopher, where has Homeboy been this whole scenario? 4 cost to play, lore on commit. +1 lore, and after you successfully investigate, gain a resource. Mythos phase puts our second Doom on the agenda. We need 6. Diana draws another copy of Cracking Ice. Oh, that's fun. And then Ursula draws Seeing Shadows. Put Seeing Shadows into play in your threat area. Forced after you fail a skill test while at a location with a concealed mini card, take 1 horror. 2 actions to discard it. Okay, now Diana, actually we're going to make a copy of this, because Diana for action 1 is going to take the location on the Forgotten Outpost to draw 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I don't completely hate that, I just mostly hate it. Are we going to be able to get any more reports? I think the answer is probably no. So we might be advancing at the end of the round. I think we're going to probably have to advance here at the end of the round. Action 2, Diana will move to the mountain stream. And then action 3, she's going to move back to Fairbanks. And that'll do it for Diana's turn. Ursula, we're going to declare the start of Ursula's turn. Then she's going to exhaust Pathfinder to move up to Fairbanks. Action 1, she's going to move over to this last Alaskan wilderness. Shroud of 3, 4 clues. The first hazard treachery revealed by an investigator at this location each round gains surge. The silence of the vast listening forest stole forward and enveloped them. Algernon Blackwood, the Wendigo, victory 1. Then she'll take her free investigate action. Ursula's up 1. That's a +1, so Ursula will get a clue. Action 2, she'll take a resource. And action 3, she will investigate, again up 1. Tentacle touched. Not the worst thing in the world. That'll do it for Ursula. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, still no enemies in play. So now we do upkeep phase. Diana will find a Read the Signs. 2 cost to play, will and lore on commit. Investigate plus will for your skill value for this investigation. You may ignore any effect or keyword on your location which would trigger during the investigation. If you succeed, gain 1 additional clue. Diana does not have to discard. Ursula will draw Chthonian Stone. Seal any bad symbol except the tentacle, but after you reveal a tentacle during a skill test, return it to your hand. Now, end of round, we are advancing the act. So, yep, we are going to advance at the end of the round since we are at the end of the round. The true face of terror. After making what preparations you can, you wait around a campfire. Your very presence in this territory makes you a prime lure for whatever awful predator stalks these woods. Soon enough, you hear a twig snap and see a multitude of glowing eyes watching you from afar. Spawn Void Chimera, True Form in the Shadows, and resolve its concealed keyword, distributing each of those concealed mini-cards as evenly as possible among each wilderness card in play. For each location with a scouting report on it, you may look at the revealed side of the concealed mini-card just placed at that location. So spawn Void Chimera. Okay, spawn Void Chimera True Form. And resolve its concealed keyword, distributing each of those mini cards. So spawn Void Chimera. Looks like we just spawned Void Chimera True Form right now. And resolve its concealed keyword, so concealed 4. Alright, so we need the Void Chimera True Form. Which that should be, yep. And then we need 4 decoys. 1, 2, 3, 4. So as evenly as possible among wilderness cards. Or among wilderness locations. Okay. Then we place them as evenly as possible among wilderness locations in play. So we'll go 1, 2, 3. I'm just checking here. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then for each locations with scouting reports, which are these 3, we can look at the revealed. We can look at the revealed side of the concealed mini card just placed at that location. So let's start down here with the Forgotten Outpost. Ah, mother! Of course it goes to this location with the obscuring fog. Decoy and decoy. Wunderbar. So we've got to get all the way back down here and succeed at a 6 shroud. That is problematic. If anybody's going to be able to, well, maybe. We might be able to manage it, but it's going to take some doing, I think. Ursula does have the clues to play Milan, and that might be what she's doing this round. Okay. Alright, so for each location with a scouting report, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Prowling Nightmare. The shifting, chimeric form of the paradimensional beast flits in and out of view. It is playing games with you, much like a cat plays with a mouse. If you can expose its true form, perhaps you can turn the game on its head and banish it once and for all. Objective, after Void Chimera is exposed, advance the act. And of course, we need to make it down here to get that. So Diana will, so now we have to do encounter cards. Actually, we have to go into the Mythos phase, and that's all end of round. Third Doom on the agenda. Diana will draw an Apocalyptic Presage. Of course it will. Forced. After Apocalyptic Presage enters play, each investigator chooses a non-weakness card they control in their hand or play area and sets it aside out of play as a hollow. And when it's defeated, instead of adding it to the victory display, discard it and choose up to 3 set-aside hollows. Add them to the owner's hand. Well, fortunately, Diana can set aside 3 cards by herself. She'll set aside her extra enchanted blade. We'll put aside her Storm of Spirits, because I don't think we're going to need that. And we'll put aside... I don't want to put aside... We'll put aside the Read the Signs. So those are Diana's hollows. Ursula will draw Substance Dissimulation. For each set-aside hollow you own, if there are one or more copies of that hollow in your play area and or hand, discard those copies and take 1 damage and 1 horror. If no cards are discarded by this effect, choose a non-weakness card you control in your hand or play area and set it aside out of play as a hollow. I need to go back over to Thorn in a second, but I'll finish dealing with this first. File AV-245 Supplemental. No energy conversion observed. What happens to hallowed matter? For each set-aside hollow you own, so that's the Dream Diary and the Magnifying Lens, which we don't control any of those. If no cards are discarded by this effect, we put something aside. We will put the Chthonian Stone aside. So we need to come back over to Thorn, since after an investigator at your location sets his card aside as a hollow, we can exhaust Thorn, the investigator at your location. So that would have to be Diana. So she will immediately take an action as if it were her turn. Flip. Unfortunately, it's going to have to be to attack. So we're going to attack the Apocalyptic Presage with the Enchanted Blade, getting +2 combat for the attack, and I'm going to spend 2 charges, which will give me another +2 combat and deal +2 damage for the attack. So Diana is at a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 4. Diana's up 3. -4. If you fail, choose a non-weakness card in your hand and set it aside out of play as a hollow. Bye-bye, Machete. Great. Okay, so that kind of blew up in my face. And of course that only works on a successful attack. Delightful. Alrighty then. Well, yeah, as if we didn't have enough problems on our hands right now, I could bring Ursula over to try to help deal with this Apocalyptic Presage. But I think we're going to stick to her plan. Action 1 is going to be to play out Milan. While I truly pray that this nightmare is just a singular abomination, I must admit that I am exhilarated by the possibility that this is but one specimen of a new genus. That was action 1. Fast action, she's going to exhaust Pathfinder to move down to the mountain stream. Action 2, actually, do we want to do... Yeah, let's do action 2 to move down to the Forgotten Outpost and test and do an investigation action. Unfortunately, because of obscuring fog, Ursula is down 1. She's up 1 now because of the Bless. Rune is a -2, -5 instead of Void Chimeras at your location. Well, unfortunately, Ursula fails the test. The Bless comes out. Action 3, she'll take the special action there to draw 3 cards as well. 1. Now we get the back injury again. 2 and 3. Ursula will take another damage and shuffle that back into her deck. And that's it for Ursula's turn. Diana. Diana's actually going to shift her Eye of Ravens back to the stable side. She's got to draw an encounter card to do that. Finds Tenebrous Eclipse again. So that goes next to the agenda deck, but that flips the Eye of Ravens back over. Action 1, she's going to attack with the Enchanted Blade again, spending the 2 charges, using the Eye of Ravens to set her base skill value to 6. So 7, 8, 9, 10 to 4. Diana's up 6. Rune is -2. So that will deal... So for each charge we spent, we get +1 combat and deal +1 damage. So Diana deals 3 damage. And then she's going to spend 1 resource to attach a grievous wound to it, so it will die on Diana's turn. At the end of the round, deal 1 damage to attached enemy. This is going to hurt. Yep, the Enchanted Blade is a melee asset, so that's fortunate. Action 2, Diana's going to run the attack back. Actually, she's going to shift the Eye of Ravens back first to its stable side. Paradigm Effacer. Fortunately, it's aloof and a hunter. So at the end of your turn, forced after you end your turn at Paradigm Effacer's location, look at the top card of your deck. If it's not a weakness, set it aside out of play as a hollow. Then, if you own 3 or more set aside hollows, Paradigm Effacer attacks you. We need to get away from this as fast as we can. We might have to take an attack of opportunity to do it, but I do need to be aware of the card having... I do need to be aware of us having 1 less sanity this round. It does 1 and 1. So that's shift the Eye of Ravens back. Attack... let's see, action 2. She's going to shift the Eye of Ravens back and then run the attack back with the Eye of Ravens. So 6, 8. Diana's up 4. That's a -2, so that's another damage on the Effacer. We didn't have any more charges to spend to do damage to it. And then that's at the end of the round. Well, since I know she's getting attacked for at least 1 and 1, I'm going to shift the last Blossom to heal 1 and 1. That heals from each investigator at your location. So that's only going to heal Diana, but still, that's better than nothing here. And then action 3... Diana's going to... Actually, before we do that, Diana's going to shift the Eye of Ravens again. And for each set aside... For each... In your play... Oh, great. This is a problem. So for each set aside hollow you own, if there are 1 or more copies of that hollow in your play area and or hand, discard those copies and take 1 and 1. Oh, for crying out loud. If no cards are discarded this way, so we have to discard the Enchanted Blade and take 1 and 1. But we shift the Eye of Ravens back. Well, we are going to be shifting it immediately again. To punch the Apocalyptic Presage, Diana's up 2. That's a -2, so actually that's dead. Which means that gets discarded, and instead of... So when it's defeated, instead of adding it to the victory display, discard it and choose up to 3 set-aside hollows. So, let's see. Diana wants her Enchanted Blade back. We will take the... I think we're going to need the Hallowed Mirror here pretty quick. And then what does Ursula have for hollows? She has the Magnifying Glass. She'll probably need that to help find the Void Chimera's true form down here. So that gets discarded. That'll do it for Diana. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase... The Paradigm Effacer is our only enemy in play, so we have to look at the top card of Diana's deck. And it is a Vicious Blow. And since we own 3 or more set-aside hollows... Hang on. What did that... Let me see if I can set that to... Let's set that back to purple. There we go. And then the Paradigm Effacer attacks us because we own 3 or more set-aside hollows. Wunderbar. So that was the enemy phase. Now we do upkeep. Diana finds a Ward of Radiance. So play when an investigator at your location draws a non-weakness Treachery. Reveal 5 random chaos tokens from the bag. If you pull a Bless or Elder Sign, cancel that Treachery card's Revelation effect. Ursula finds another deduction. We may need that just to get over top of the skill value at the Forgotten Outpost. Foredoom in play. Diana now draws Seeing Shadows, which is basically a blank. Ursula finds an obscure... Oh, wait. Actually, Obscuring Fog is a limit 1 per location. So, actually, never mind. Go away, Obscuring Fog. I don't need 2 of those because that's already a 6. Let's see. Diana for Action 1 will go first in the investigation phase. Action 1, she'll spend 3 resources to play out her copy of the... out her other copy of the Enchanted Blade. Action 2, she's going to F off from the Paradigm Effacer because she needs to. And then Action 3, she's going to come down here and say hi to Ursula. Ursula looks at Diana like, what happened to you? And then that'll do it for Diana in the investigation phase. Ursula is going to pay... Actually, that's going to lose something due to slot pressure, isn't it? Action 1, Ursula is going to investigate. She's going to commit the magnifying glass to get to even. She's at a 5 right now because of Milan. The magnifying glass will get her up to even. Eureka will put her up 1. Diana will give her a... Can Diana give her any help? And I don't think she can, no. So Ursula's up 1. That's a -1, so we successfully investigate. More importantly, we do expose the Void Chimera's true form, so since we did that, we advance. Which now, okay, this is going to turn into something different. So let's put this up here for a second. Outsider's Lair. Shroud of 4, 4 clues. Revelation. Put Outsider's Lair into play and move Void Chimera true form and each investigator at its location. Actually, wait a second. Did I do something wrong here? Hang on. Something's not right here. Okay, looks like it just... What? Why is it being like this? Okay, I'm just going to zoom in on this. The alt is being weird. Okay, so it was the true form. Okay, so Outsider's Lair. So Revelation, put Outsider's Lair into play and move Void Chimera true form and each investigator at its location to Outsider's Lair. While Outsider's Lair has no clues on it, Void Chimera true form gets -1 fight and -1... Oh, wait a minute. I think I was supposed to use the special... decoys for the Void Chimera. It didn't say to, though. Maybe that would have happened if it was something a little bit different. So it looks like we've got the true form of the Void Chimera here. So it looks like we move both of our ladies to it. And the Obscuring Fog gets discarded from the location. Alright, while it has no clues on it, Void Chimera gets -1 fight and -1 evade, victory 1. Void Chimera, 4. 4 per investigator, so 8, 4. Concealed 4, massive. You can't expose any concealed mini-cards while one of Void Chimera's other forms is in play. Forced, after you expose one of Void Chimera's decoys, find the set-aside version of Void Chimera with the matching subtitle and spawn it at your location. So yeah, I probably should have used the special decoy cards, but we're not going to go back and redo all of that. And then spawn it at your location, victory 1. Alright, so now we need to be aware of seeing shadows. Well, actually, no, we don't now. So, Ursula with 2 actions left. Action 1, she's going to try to evade. She's at even. Yep, so she's at even. Diana is going to give her a Ward of Radiance to put her up 1. That frickin' cultist again. -4. We're going to put I've Got a Plan into play, or aside. Then for action 3, Ursula is going to play Bloodright. So we're going to shuffle, we're going to draw 2 cards and then discard 2. For each card we discard this way, we can either gain a resource or spend a resource to deal a damage to an enemy at your location. So we're going to use it as a 2. So we'll draw 2 cards. Burning the Midnight Oil. 2 copies of Burning the Midnight Oil. Those can both go Toodaloo. And then Ursula will spend 2 resources for 2 damage to the Void Chimera. What? That should have had a 2 on it. There we go. Okay. So Blood Right's discarded. That'll do it for Ursula. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Actually, wait a second. We moved there. So we could have taken investigate action, but no, that's dumb. So that's the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Void Chimera deals each of us 1 and 1. Which I will have Diana take that herself. And then we do upkeep. So Diana for upkeep will find a Hypnotic Gaze. Fast play when an enemy attacks an investigator at your location. Cancel the attack, then reveal a random token from the bag. If it has a bad symbol in it, deal the attacking enemy's damage to itself. And then Ursula will draw Fieldwork. After you move to a location, if that location has at least 1 clue, exhaust Fieldwork. You get +2 skill value for the next skill test you perform this phase. Mythos phase, put the 5th Doom on the agenda. Diana will draw Snowslide Hazard. Revelation, test agility 3. If you fail, you and each asset with health you control takes 1 direct damage. If you hear that soft roar approaching, it's already too late. Diana is at even, so that's where she'll test. Ursula, not going to commit. That's a 0, so we're all clear there. Ursula will draw a Paracusal Entity, 3/2/5 Hunter. Forced when it engages you, look at the top card of your deck. If it's not a weakness, set it aside out of play as a hollow. File number AT-151. Subject appears as a hyperphysical distortion, devoid of mass. Capable of hollowing contacted matter. See file number AV-245. Containment impossible. So Ursula will look at the top card of her deck. It's an I've got a plan, so that'll get set aside as a hollow. Delightful. Okay, so let's see what we want to do here. For action 1, let's see. Well, who do we want to go first in the investigation phase? Excuse me. Let's see. I think Ursula is going to go first. See if she can try to evade some of these. So Ursula will start off by trying to evade the Paracausal Entity. She's up 1, trying to evade. She'll commit Fieldwork to go up 2. Yep, up 2. That's a -1, so the Paracusal Entity is evaded. Then Ursula is going to initiate an investigation action, committing a deduction. The attack of opportunity will initiate from the Void Chimera. Diana, however, is going to pay 3 resources to cancel the attack with a Hypnotic Gaze. Then we reveal a random token from the bag. If it's a bad symbol, deal the attacking enemy's damage to itself. So we'll shuffle up the Chaos bag. Since here's a rare time I actually want to see a bad symbol. And of course, now we see the Elder Sign. But the attack's been canceled, so Diana gets a resource, draws a card. That's a Machete. And then Ursula will go for her investigation. She's at a 5/7 to a 4. She's up 3. Is there anything else that I want to commit? No. Up 3. -1 means she succeeds by 2. So since she succeeded by 2, Ursula will discover 3 clues at the location, which will also reduce the evade. The evade and the fight by 3. So now it's a 1/8/1. Which means Ursula should have a much easier time evading that now, which she will try to do. So Ursula is up 3 trying to evade. Rune's a -5 because of course it is. So that means Ursula's done. Diana. So it looks like the goal here... Oh, so I forgot to... So the location where Void Chimera was exposed is connected to Outsider's lair, but not vice versa. Last stand. Your prey has trapped you in its own lair. The alien beast unveils itself in all its otherworldly grandeur, looming over you in myriad amorphous forms. The location where Void Chimera true form was exposed is connected to Outsider's lair, but not vice versa. Objective, if Void Chimera is defeated, advance the act. Okay. So, I think we know what Diana is trying to do here. So, I definitely don't want to shift that if I can avoid it, but I will shift the Eye of Ravens to its stable side. And draw Beyond the Pale. Attach it to your location and test Will 3. Then, if there are 3 copies of Beyond the Pale in play, discard them. Diana's at a 4, she's up 1. That's a -1, so we're clear. Then we're going to shift the Eye of Ravens as we're getting ready to make an attack. So that makes during a skill test at your location, which this is. So Diana's going to set her base combat to 6. This is probably overkill, but the way I've been drawing, I'd rather have the overkill. Using the Enchanted Blade to go to an 8. And I believe, I'm sure the Void Chimera is elite. It is. So the Spectral Razor, well, we don't have the resources to pay for that anyway. So we're going 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 from the Enchanted Blade. So that'll put her up 9, trying to do base 1, 2, 3 damage. Rune is a -5, which fortunately still succeeds. So Diana will do the 4 damage. Actually, we'll do 3 damage, which will put the Void Chimera at a 5. Then we'll shift the Eye of Ravens back. That thing's been valuable. Attached to your location. Forced. After you end your turn at attached location, choose a non-weakness card in your hand and set it aside out of play as a hollow. 2 actions to discard it. Okay, then we're going to shift the Eye of Ravens again to make our combat a 6, using the Enchanted Blade again. 7, 8, 9, 10. Diana is up 9, trying to defeat the Void Chimera. Which a -1 will do that, so that's the 8th damage on the Void Chimera. So that should go to a state. We have defeated the Void Chimera, so we will advance. The Killing Blow. As you land a final blow, the shifting, violent thing collapses into itself with a noisome cacophony and a sudden suction of air. As its form crumbles, the strange otherworld around you also begins to disintegrate, and you find yourself drawn back to reality in a rush of static and ozone. Check which version of Thorn is in play. If the Thorn story asset is in play, R1. If the Thorn enemy is in play, R2. If Thorn is not in play, R3. The story asset from Thorn is in play, so we get R1. Oop, jarred the block that I'm using there. So, alright, Resolution 1. A scent of ozone hisses out of the closing Terran reality as your surroundings come back into view. You are back in Alaska, where the chimeric entity pulled you into its lair. As you stand up, Thorn pulls a handkerchief to wipe slick, extra-dimensional blood off of their sleeve. They cock an eyebrow at you. Perhaps I was wrong about you foundation types. If nothing else, you know how to hold your own in a fight. Though I would recommend you reconsider your stance on my fellow coterie brethren and myself. I do not believe I am the only member of the coterie who is willing to put aside petty differences in the face of such... They pause, and in that moment, you sense Thorn's age and gravity. Such a monumental crisis. With that, Thorn smiles and swiftly turns on their heel. Pleasure doing business with you, and rest assured, I will not forget our agreement. They put the sable glass in their breast pocket and stride away into the wilderness. Thorn, you damn well better not forget your agreement. Otherwise, this enchanted blade's got other places it can go. So each investigator earns Victory X, equal to the value of each card in the victory display, which we had one from the Hunter's Lodge, plus 1 for the Void Chimera, which is 2. So big whoop on the experience. Thorn is the bearer of the Sable Glass, which I will go ahead and save that because that may end up coming back into... I'm going to save that because that may come back into play later for us. But for now, it's out of play. Mark 3 time on our campaign log. which 1, 2, 3, you may embark, but first we'll come back up top so we can see this for a second. But as we come back up top, I'm trying to zoom this in so I can show you guys. Come on. Let's bring it into focus. What I'm trying to show you is that by marking 3 time, we actually have passed a symbol there for a briefing. We had to add that earlier in the campaign, so now we've got another status report to go through before we get there. That was Zeta, it looks like, I think. Yes, I think that was supposed to be Zeta. Alright. You return to your hotel after a long day of travel and investigation, only to find your room in shambles. A grim feeling sprouts in your gut. Someone has clearly turned your room upside down in search of something, and you're pretty sure you know what. Hang on, my campaign guide got a little bit loose here. Let me see if I can do something to fix that, get it set back. Come on. I'll deal with that later. Okay. You rush to the safe where you have been storing the paradimensional artifacts you aren't carrying on your person. To your horror, it is empty, aside from a single red card. Reaching out to Foundation contacts, you believe you have tracked the culprit to one of 4 likely coterie sanctums. Perhaps if you're quick, you can recover what was stolen from you. Check the keys section, and see you later, Jester. Check the keys section of the campaign log and find each of the keys whose bearer is an investigation. Choose 1 at random, 2 instead if the investigators control 5 or more keys in total. So we have the Eye of Ravens, the Lost Blossom, and the Mirroring Blade. So I'm going to tab back into TTS. We'll spawn a D6. Components, dice. Here's our D6. Okay. So 1 to 2, the Eye of Ravens. 3 to 4, the Last Blossom. 5 to 6, the Mirroring Blade. 6, the Mirroring Blade has been stolen. Gather each of the enemies in the red coterie set whose name matches those you have not seen the last of. We haven't seen the last of the red-gloved man. So actually, he's the one that stole the... key. So, red-gloved man is now the bearer of the Mirroring Blade. Alright, so update the keys section. We've got that. In the Central Asia, Americas, and North Atlantic sections of the campaign log, which they're actually marked for us. So find Kabul, Quito, San Juan, and Reykjavik. In each of these spots, write 14-C. So 14-C, San Juan, 14-C, and Quito, 14-C. You are now allowed to travel to those locations whenever you embark. So as we move up to the map, we've now gained access to Kabul, Reykjavik, Quito, and where was the other one? San Juan, I think. So now we can embark. Now I think we will actually head to Kabul. So we are in Anchorage. Let's see. The Mirroring Blade. If it was the Eye of Ravens, I probably would have gone after it with a lot more vengeance. Let's see, the Mirroring Blade. What did the Mirroring Blade do again? Deal 2 damage to an enemy or location. Oh, I forgot I had this totally when we were dealing with the Void Chimera. Or 1 damage to all enemies. We probably could have just cheesed that out. But a little late to worry about that now. Actually, is it late to worry about that? Let's see. So our first location would be San Juan. That would take us 3 time to get there. Then we could go to Quito if we don't find it there. Actually, 1, 2, 3 to get to San Juan or to Quito. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get to Kabul. Or 1, 2 to get to Reykjavik. And I need to bear in mind that we've got some time that we've got to keep an eye on the clock as well, because eventually the campaign is going to force us to Tunguska. But we've got plenty of time in front of us for that. And we'd pull another status report, potentially. That would be status report Gamma. Let's go from Anchorage. You know what? Yeah, let's spend 2 time. So 1, 2. We'll go to Reykjavik. So 14-C. Excuse me. So let's see what's at 14-C in Reykjavik. (14-C). Determine if this is the site of your missing keys by performing the following steps. Gather an enemy's concealed mini card and 3 decoys. If wrong leads is recorded in your campaign log, gather 1 fewer decoy for each tally mark recorded next to it. So fortunately, we've got some enemy decoys, some enemy cards out here, which we'll grab 1 of these. Actually, I think we need to go in here. Yep, we'll grab a coterie agent, that'll do. And 3 decoys? Yes. Oop. We'll shuffle those up. And if there are... Okay. So flip the gathered concealed card. Okay, so we flip the cards and shuffle them and choose 1 at random. Alright, so here's our random card. It's a decoy. Proceed to Ruses and Reclamation 1. You search every known coterie sanctum and safe house in this region, looking high and low for the villain who stole your precious cargo, but find nothing. Either they're not here, or they're so well hidden that searching any more thoroughly would be a waste of time. Resigned, you plan your next move. In your campaign log, record wrong leads. And next to this, record 1 tally mark next to it. And we can embark, so that brings us back up to the map. Let's see. Now we're kind of locked out of going south, unless I want to spend more time here. Let's go, let's see, it would be 1, 2, 3 to get back to San Juan, which I think we're going to do. So 1, 2, 3 time. I'm realizing that the mirroring blade on a second look is actually pretty important. So 1, 2, 3. But we cross another status symbol here. We'll bring it back up top so I can show you guys that we're passing. That looks like Epsilon, I think. Unfortunately, it's not focusing very well. Let's see if it focuses better on the official log. Not particularly, but that's the symbol we're coming to. So that looks like, I believe that's Epsilon. No, that's actually, that symbol is actually Gamma. The reports continue. Now it's not just missing people. Now it's just not just missing people, but people returning, having changed. Buildings and objects too, replicated, but different, off, like they had been completely dismantled and then reassembled. But why? Add 1 cultist token to the bag, so we'll deal with that here. We'll drop that in the bag. Let's make sure I get that blessed token out. I'll save that now before I go any further. Go. And now each investigator has to add a copy of the Paradimensional Understanding weakness to their decks. And of course, that doesn't count toward their deck size. I will take care of that update when I go to... I'll take care of that weakness I'll take care of adding that weakness when I go to do upgrades on Paradimensional Understanding. Let me see if I can track it down real quick. Global status. It's probably in Globetrotting, I believe. Yes, here we are. Okay, so Paradimensional... It would help if you guys could see what I'm looking at. Paradimensional Understanding says we either shift an unstable key you control or flip each stable key you control to its unstable side. Okay, so each of our ladies will have to add that to their deck. I'll note it in the log. Okay, we crossed off our 3 time. So now we're at... So now we're down here at San Juan. So back to 14-C. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing here. And since we've already got our decoys set aside, we're just going to shuffle those up and see what we can do. Another decoy. So now we record another tally mark next to that. Where are our other 2 sanctums? So we've been to San Juan and we've been to Reykjavik. Now we can go down to Quito, actually, since it's only 1 time from San Juan. Then we'll shuffle this up, then we'll do the same thing again. And it's our enemy, so this time we do find the key. So this time we find it, Ruses and Reclamation 2. You finally narrow down your quarry and find their safe house. Before rushing in, you lay low and wait for the right time to strike. With the element of surprise on your side, you tailor your approach to your foe. Mark 1 time in your campaign log. Read only the following that pertains to your section, then you may embark. If the red-gloved man stole the key, and he did. With the foe as enigmatic and potentially dangerous as the red-gloved man, perhaps it is best to avoid confrontation altogether. You wait until you spot him leaving the sanctum and then start picking the lock of the same entrance. Only, to your surprise, he has left it unlocked. You can almost imagine his blank stare from the shadows, mocking your every move. Does he know you're here? Why steal from you only to hand the stolen objects back to you on a silver platter? In the end, you decide it is best not to look a gift horse in the mouth. After all, you're not about to waste this opportunity. You grab the stolen relic and make your escape, wondering all the while the true motivations of the mysterious man. Each investigator update the keys section of your campaign log such that the keys that were stolen return to their original bearers. Give me back the mirroring blade. So Ursula has that back. That didn't take long. Each investigator earns 1 experience plus 1 additional experience for each tally mark next to wrong leads. So now we earn 3 more experience, which brings us to 5. And we may embark. So we marked off another time. We also cross off 14C on each of the remaining locations. So our quarry was in Quito. And now we can embark. So now what do we want to do? 1 location would take us to Manaquari. We are starting to get into the tail end of the campaign, though. So I think starting to work our way toward Tunguska is probably going to be a handy thing to do. Let's see. So where do we want to go? I'm looking at the map here. So it would be... So we can't stop in Manaquari. Let's see what I want to do here. We're too far from any kind of side stories. We could go up to Arkham and do a side story, but I think time is running out for us on that rather quickly. Is there anywhere else we want to travel? Well, we got to figure out where we're going next. Next week is the Next week, I believe, is the... It's not letting me have access to the camera. Or not camera, the calendar is what I want right now. Because I want to see what I want to see what next week is. Next week should be the... Let's see, next week is the 2nd, actually, already. So we're already into February. Let's see, let's go 1, 2, and we'll go up to Shanghai next, which I believe is a scenario, so that'll turn me, so that's going to take me over to 32-J. So 32-J. Oh no, it's actually the Coiled Serpent. Alright, file 32-J, asset name Flint Lee, area of operation Shanghai, China. Profile, recently acquired agent in charge of undisclosed cell reporting directly to Commissioner Tyler. Current assignment, according to recent report, asset is split from rest of cell and is currently in Shanghai, investigating whereabouts of subject number 46-Q. Asset loyalty to Foundation cause is unsure. Extreme vigilance recommended. The Coiled Serpent 1. You send a missive to Agent Flint ahead of your arrival, setting a meeting time and place, Jing'an Temple at noon, and head there as soon as you arrive, entering the Broadstone Courtyard at the temple's entrance. After a short while, a tourist approaches you and asks in English, "You're sure you're alone?" It takes a moment to realize that the tourist is none other than Flint. In a subtle yet convincing disguise, he narrows his eyes at your stare. "Answer me," he says, scanning his surroundings. You assure him that you haven't been followed. "Can't be too careful. Eyes everywhere. I have a lead on one of those coterie types here in Shanghai, just like the Foundation's intel suggested. They call her number 46-Q, a.k.a. Lady with Red Parasol. Sure enough, she brings that parasol with her everywhere she goes. As far as coterie insignia goes, it's not the most subtle." While he whispers, he pulls a large camera and tripod from his duffel bag and painstakingly sets up a shot of the temple. You wonder aloud what in the world Flint is up to. "Stop staring," he hisses under his breath. Then you spot other tourists taking photos as well, and you realize that Flint is better at blending in than you are. The last time I saw the lady with the parasol, she was leaving a meeting between several wealthy British and Chinese businessmen. "Railwaymen," he says quietly, head still down. "Women aren't usually allowed at such meetings, nor are regular citizens. To be in that room, you have to be able to get the attention of those powerful men, which means you're either very powerful or obscenely wealthy." Flint takes a few photos, then moves to a new spot and starts the tedious process of focusing the camera all over again. Within 2 weeks of that meeting, they announced a lucrative new contract. It seems all their competitors were convinced for one reason or another to step away from the project, which left them to write their own ticket, name their own price. He slowly scans the courtyard again, careful to move just his eyes and not his head. Could be she has leverage on them, or maybe she's just that charming, but I'm willing to put money on it being the influence of a key. If that's true, it's imperative that we're not made. Flint's paranoia is infectious. Check the campaign log. If the cell told the truth to Taylor, proceed to the Coiled Serpent 2. If the cell hid the truth from Taylor, skip to the Coiled Serpent 3. The cell told the truth to Taylor. Okay. "Look, I would tell you more, maybe even let you help me out here, but you've made it pretty clear you're a bit chatty, and the last thing I need is the coterie figuring out what I'm onto them. So, how about we split up? Keep doing what you're doing, and I'll contact you when I have a good lead." Without letting you protest, Flint packs up his camera and leaves. In your campaign log, record, "Flint is working solo." In your campaign log, find the 6th spot from the current time. Under that spot, write Psi. When you reach it, proceed to Status Report Psi in the Status Reports section of the campaign guide. So counting out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's going to take us right to the end of the campaign. And then you may embark. Let's see. see. What do we want to do here next? So we've gone to Shanghai. Now let's see what Kathmandu gives us. Like I said, I kind of want to stay close to Tunguska. So we're going to move over to Kathmandu, see if that turns into a scenario. 53-V. I believe that was the location of the key. 53-V. Come on. 53-V, is that a son of a biscuit? 53-V. And we're starting to drop frames like crazy. Delightful. Subject class, unidentified. Real identity, Uparitria, Alaki Zoni. Last known location, Kathmandu, Nepal. Subject number 53-V. Hereinafter, maid with scarlet sash. Appears as a teenage girl of unknown descent wearing a white dress and red sash. Redacted. Paradimensional capabilities, all redacted. Sightings, local and region have reported seeing a spirit matching subject's description, heralded by a high-pitched whistling sound. Unclear if redacted. Subject, approach procedure. Subject risk class, unconfirmed. Do not approach. Whistle on the wind, 1. A chill breeze flutters through the streets of Kathmandu, along with a faint, shrill whine. To the north, the Himalayas loom over the city, only their peaks illuminated by the westward sun. Pinks and purples bathe the sun in vibrant beauty. You could stare at such a breathtaking sight forever, but you have a job to do. Despite the quiet, peaceful evening, that soft, sharp piping does not cease, like an aching sound of dread in the back of your mind. As the evening drags on, and the whistling grows louder, you realize you are the only one who can hear the strange sound. It feels as though it is reaching out to you directly, as if it hears you too, as if it knows you. On a whim, you close your eyes and struggle to listen closer. It's difficult to tell where exactly the sound is coming from. It seems to waft all around you and echo throughout the streets, but it grows in volume as you round the nearest corner and head north. And so north you continue. Eventually, you reach an art gallery nestled between age-old buildings. The whistling here is fevered and unpleasant, like a boiling kettle. Though the gallery is closed at this late hour, you are able to easily find an open side entrance. You brace yourself and enter the gallery, where dozens of Nepalese sculptures and paintings are on display, many carved out of wood or stone, others made out of ashtadhatu, an amalgam of 8 different metals, and still others, made of terracotta. The whistling suddenly stops the moment you reach the rearmost section of the gallery, where a single lot remains strangely empty. Just lost my place here. Oh, there is no trace of what might have been there, just an empty space where something historic and treasured is clearly meant to be. Then, a lone voice pierces the sudden quiet, speaking a language you do not understand. You turn on your heels, body tensing. At the other end of the hall is a girl dressed in white, her figure seemingly ethereal. Where was I? Oh, yes. Seemingly ethereal in the faint beams of fading sunlight that permeate through the building. Her long black hair is draped over her face, masking her expression. A long scarlet sash wrapped around her waist flutters behind her, despite the fact that there is no breeze. You freeze. The figure of the girl does not move. Her hair and sash drift steadily in the stillness. Then she speaks once more. Again, you don't understand a single word of it, though you notice that she has switched languages. Recognizing a few root words, you realize she's using Latin. She speaks again, this time in what sounds like ancient Greek. If she is trying to communicate with you, it may be wise to play along. You ask her what she's doing here, why she's guided you here. Her response is in yet another language that eludes you, this one sounding somewhat like a blend of Egyptian and Greek. Read only if an investigator has the drifter trait, except Wendy Adams. I don't think either of our investigators has the drifter trait. Cultist, Silver Twilight, Wayfarer. Nope. So we skip that. Due to the language barrier, it's difficult to get a sense for what she wants from you. As you attempt to decipher her intent, she approaches slowly, her steps making no sound whatsoever along the wooden floor. She gestures to the empty lot next to you and whistles softly, as though the sound might carry with it some meaning. You wonder if perhaps there might have been once something there. and then realize it is gone, vanished from history without so much as a trace. You recall the woman's name from the Foundation's dossier and ask her if she is also on the trail of the entities responsible for these kinds of disappearances. Aliki Uperatrea does not seem to understand you, but she tilts her head in recognition at the sound of her own name. Then she wrenches something from around her neck and extends it to you in a closed fist. The lead investigator must decide, choose one. Accept what she's offering you. Proceed to whistle on the wind 2. Don't accept her offer. Proceed to whistle on the wind 3. We might as well take it. Whistle on the wind 2. You extend your hand, and a small device on a silver's chain falls into your palm. It is a whistle carved out of bone to look like the head and beak of a white raven. Glancing back up at Aliki, she points toward the plaque next to the empty lot and says something once more in what sounds to you like Latin. You ask what she's after and what the significance of the whistle is, but she remains cryptically silent. Turning over the whistle in your hand, you find no markings or clues as to its purpose. When you glance back up to question Aliki, she has vanished, replaced once more with a cold wind that seeps into your skin. Though no one else seems to hear it, the piping returns, soul-wrenching, ear-splitting. It does not cease for as long as the whistle remains in your possession. In your campaign log, record, the cell possesses a mysterious whistle. Each investigator suffers one mental or physical trauma as the shrill sound follows them everywhere they go. They're both 7s, so I'll have them both take a physical trauma. Remove one Elder Thing token from the bag and add a rune, but I think there are 4 runes in the bag already. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, so each investigator will gain another experience, which will bring us up to 6, and we may embark. So Kathmandu. Let's go to... Was Bombay the location of another key? Where are our keys? That's going to be in the first interlude, is where that list is going to be. So Shanghai didn't give us much of anything. Let's see, 1, 2, 3 would get us to Alexandria. But it looks like the scenario on the... It looks like the scenario on the 9th is going to be the end of the campaign, from the looks of it. Since we've spent a lot of time traveling, unless we want to trigger the end of the campaign now. Which... I might be okay with doing that, actually. Because I think anywhere we go at this point... 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So yeah, pretty much anywhere we embark now. So depending on how long we spend traveling here, we could be at the end of the campaign potentially. And like I said, unless I want to trigger it now, but I'm not sure I want to. Let's see. Nairobi was looking at a member of the coterie. We were looking at a member of the coterie there. Just for giggles, let's go to Nairobi and let's go to 54W in the campaign log and the campaign guide and see if that's going to trigger a scenario. That will not. But if we travel to Nairobi, we're basically committing to the end of the campaign being next week. Which I think pretty much anywhere we go, we're committing to that at this point. So, yeah, let's go over to Nairobi. 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. All right, so 54-W. Infernal Machinery. All right, here's the dossier. File 54-W. Subject class green. Real identity, Masai Twali. Last known location, Nairobi, Kenya. Subject number description. Subject number 54-W. Hereafter, Tuwali Masai is a slim man of Kenyan descent, middle-aged and 176 centimeters in height. Coterie signifiers include large spectacles, redacted and redacted with coterie operatives. Subject has written and published openly under their name in numerous geological and archaeological periodicals. Paradimensional capabilities. No known reports. Subject appears to possess no such capabilities, or has successfully hidden redacted from Foundation intelligence. Subject, Tuwali Masai, teaches under a fellowship at Oxford University and has published numerous surveys on work at and around Lake Victoria. Approach procedure. Masai has spurned all Foundation contact thus far. Operatives may wish to approach only if Masai has reason to trust them. Infernal Machine 1. A heavy gray mist hangs in the air above Lake Victoria as your biplane touches down on a dusty runway. All leads in Nairobi about a Tuwali Masai point to the shoreline of Lake Victoria, where the coterie member is said to have transported several tons of survey equipment. A faint but sharp scent of alkaline carries on the breeze as you walk to the lake, where several large boats are laden with heavy machinery at the shoreline. Sunlight catches on a pair of thick-rimmed spectacles down at the pier. Professor Masai? You greet the wiry man as he steps ashore. Masai looks nervously past you as he wipes his glasses. Check the campaign log. If at least 3 of the following are true, La Chica Roja is on your side, the cell aided the night, Aliki is on your side, Desi is on your side, the cell made a deal with Thorn, or S trusts the cell, proceed to Infernal Machine 2. Otherwise, Infernal Machinery 3. Let's see. The cell made a deal with Thorn. Desi's in your debt, but I'm not sure we're going to get anything there. And none of the others are true, so we've skipped to the Infernal Machinery 3. I'm terribly sorry, but I don't have time to chat, Masai says as he steps lightly past you. You follow him, pressing for some assistance or insight, anything that can help in your struggle with the Red Coterie. Ah, I had no idea I was dealing with a Foundation. You must be new. Masai regards you in a new light, then leads you to sit in a makeshift camp. Very well. Please wait here, and I'll help you as soon as I can. You sit in a comedically short camping chair under the awning as the professor walks out of view. The minutes drift away as the clouds overhead break and a heavy rain begins to fall. After waiting for some time, you stand up and look out to the shoreline. The boats have gone. When you ask the locals for the professor's whereabouts, they tell you he ended his survey and paid for passage across the lake. After returning to Nairobi, you check with the British consulate and discover that Masai's travel expenses were being footed by his fellowship with Oxford. His declaration of travel includes an obscure address in Bermuda. Pocketing the information, you continue your trails. In your campaign log, record Tuwali Masai fled to Bermuda. And we may embark. And I think embarking at this point is going to take us to Tunguska. 1, 2, 3, 4. And yeah, we have only 2 time left, so we're automatically moving to Tunguska, which means the last scenario of the campaign will be next week. Before we get into that, though, we have 2 status reports. First, we have to go through status reports Psi and Omega. So let's go to the status reports. Status report Psi. As you return to your hotel, the concierge waves you down and hands you a telegram. Trail picked up on hot on her heels, stop. Meet in Hong Kong, may require aid, stop. Parasol is key, stop. This must be from Inspector Flint. Perhaps you should travel to Hong Kong and learn more if you can spare the time. Except we can't. In the Southeast Asia section of the campaign log, find Hong Kong. In its spot, write 50-S. You are now allowed to travel to this location when you embark, but we're about to get status report Omega as well. As you head into your hotel room, frantic at news of recent events, you mentally begin to prepare for the next leg of your trip, when suddenly a shape emerges from a corner of your hotel room, and you are clocked on the side of your skull by something heavy and smooth. You collapse into darkness. The last thing you see is a splash of red. What did we have copied here? Cultist. Perfect. Because we need to add a cultist to the chaos bag, and we're out of time, we immediately travel directly to Tunguska and proceed to the finale scenario, Congress of the Keys. And that is what we will be doing next week. I will resave this as Scarlet Keys Chaos Bag. Nope. All right, and that is where we will be. That is where we will wrap up today's stream, as next week we will be going to the final scenario of the campaign, Congress of the Keys. Let me find that as a bookmark. That should be right here. Okay, so we will start. That. Let's see, just looking at that. Okay, so yeah. We will be... Okay, so that's where we're starting next week. I just wanted to make sure my notes were all set up. We are all set for the final campaign of the winter campaign in Arkham Horror, the card game, next week, with the last scenario, the Congress of the Keys. Before that, we've got a lot of stuff coming up on the channel. As later today, we will be having this week's episode of Mystical Munchies, making the dessert out of the Marvel Eat the Universe cookbook, Spider-Man's New York City Cheesecake. Later tonight, we're going back into season ticket baseball for 1985, as we will be having I believe it's the Texas Rangers at the Cleveland Indians at Cleveland Stadium. I don't remember who's going for both teams as far as pitchers go, because I don't have my score sheet in front of me for that. Wednesday, we're playing game number 1 on my War Room 10-game challenge, as we play Cthulhu Wars Duel by Peterson Games. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care, everyone.